What's going on, people? Indie Pride here, and as promised, I am playing as Kislev in Call of Warhammer Beginning of the End Times with the most iconic Warhammer unit that never showed up in an official army book, the Sons of Ursun Bear Cavalry. If Kislev does indeed get added to Total War Warhammer, and that is a big if, I expect them to get an updated roster that should absolutely include Grizzly or Polar Bear Cavalry. CA, please add them. For my army, we've got Streltsy up front, got some Halberdiers, very crappy, Kreml Guard with their two-handed axes, and Droyashki in my back lines. On my left flank, got some units of mounted gunpowder cavalry, and more Bear Cav in the back lines, ready to charge in and do some work in melee combat. Also got some Winged Lancers over on the other side of the field. This is a 4-person free-for-all. I am facing off against the Ogre Kingdoms, and a long way off, the Tomb Kings and the Empire Province of Stirland are trading blows to the east. So first order of business, deal with the army of the Great Maw, barreling down the mountainside with a bunch of silly little Noblars at the helm. Crap tier unit uses meat shields for the Ogre Kingdoms, and as an occasional food source, we've got Iron Guts and the Battle Standard Bears and some Man-Eaters barreling down the hill as well. So we get a good look at the Man-Eaters here. They're very cool. They seem to be very well traveled. Got Dawi Zargir, Cathay, Arabian, and Napon all thrown in there as well. I think there were some Sartosian pirate themed ones in there. That's a really cool looking unit. And then we've got the Ogre Man-Eaters, which are firing crossbows the size of ballista, basically. Those will be really scary from range. And there seem to be no lead belchers or fire bellies on the field, so a pure rush army. Can Kislev hold the line against that kind of melee power? We will see soon enough. Streltsy gunline opening up fire into that front line of ogres as we shift over and look at the Tomb Kings and Stirland armies real quick. So we've got a bunch of skeleton warriors and skeleton archers that cause fear and are immune to fear and unbreakable. Very potent combination. The skeleton horsemen on the left flank trying to circle around behind the Empire army. Mummified Tomb Guard bringing up the rear. I think that might be the general's unit. And as we shift over, more skeleton horsemen in the back, pretty powerful cavalry, and the Ushabti moving silently, or silently as a big undead statue can, through the trees. And we'll take a look at Stirland's army when we get the chance, but for now, Ogre Kingdoms have clashed into the front lines of Kislev, or about to, and the Streltsy gun line is going to start pulling back. Got a couple of good volleys in that can be very, very important against the high HP units of the Ogres. The Kislev Halberdiers are not going to be able to hold the line very well against this kind of powerful charge. They don't have a bonus versus Ogres because they're technically an infantry unit. So these Ogre Man-Eaters and Iron Guts are going to tear through the front line like butter, but Kislev Halberdiers are very cheap and just hopefully going to be able to tie them down in place while I have double and triple line fire going on. This is one thing I love doing with Kislev. Get some gunpowder cavalry units. They can fire in and stand behind another infantry unit of gunpowder, so you can get double and triple line fire going and doing a lot of damage, kind of layer your defense as these units charge in. So the Noblars are throwing their nets, doing a little bit of damage and slowing down all of my units on the front line, but they're already tied down in melee, so that doesn't matter too much. And on my right flank, the Winged Lancers and Sons of Ursun getting ready to charge in. Cycle charging is going to be so important. I cannot allow my Winged Lancers to stay in melee for too long, or those ogres will rip them apart. No problem whatsoever. He has managed to break a lot of my right flank already. You can see there are a lot of dead, but I'm going to just cycle charge in, try to use my cavalry to slow down the tides of ogres over on this side. Nice charge coming in there. Winged Lancers always looking super epic on that charge in, taking out a few ogres with that pinpoint strike, but haven't found a good opening yet for my Sons of Ursun. An absolute pandemonium has broken out on the front line. Kislevites desperately trying to hold the line as the ogres push forward. It's going to be all about giving my gunpowder units enough time to fire in and wear down these Iron Guts who are cutting a swath of destruction through the center of my Halberdier and Droyashki line. Sons of Ursun into melee, dropping a few of those Man-Eaters in combat. They have these two-handed greatswords, so they're very good in sustained melee as well, but as with most cavalry in Medieval 2, you'll get the best usage out of them if you're cycle charging and getting hammer and anvils off. But these ones, I had to commit into melee because the Man-Eaters managed to bust through, and if I don't tie them down, they're going to get at my gun units, and that would be very bad because I really need them to hold the line here. Droyashki just completely surrounding this one Man-Eater, trying to take it down, and the ogres are just not easy to bring down whatsoever. As you can imagine, tons of armor, tons of HP. They are causing havoc everywhere they have entered melee combat. Even causing havoc in the back lines managed to get into some of my Streltsy as they fire in. I've gotten a nice little position to fire in with my gun line, doing lots of damage from up on that mountainside. And the Sons of Urson are just trying to deal with anything that charges through, breaks through that infantry line here. But his left flank, Stan's left flank, has opened up a little bit for me. I might be able to get a cavalry unit in behind and start getting rid of these pesky little Noblars. If that happens and I get the mass routing, I could then possibly deal with all of these Ogres. In fact, I do have a Son of Urson unit in the back here. Managed to bring down the Ogre General relatively early on in the battle. That'll be a nice thing. The Ogres are not going to rout anytime soon, but the Noblars might. They're going to be very easy to panic and mass rout. They're basically just miniature goblins. They're even smaller than goblins, even less useful than the greenskin version of the goblins. And as my Sons of Urson charge in and my Gunpowder Cav fires in from the flank, I will be able to start causing a mass rout here. A lot of little itty-bitty Noblars running for the hills, and this is just a juicy target for the bears, who are going to have a tasty afternoon snack in Kislev. Best way to feed a bear: grab some Noblars from the mountains of Mourn and let them go to town. So the bears are going to have a lot to eat here, and as we shift over to Stirland and Tomb King's battle, we can see what's going on here. So Scarlet Guard Halberdiers and the War Altar of Sigmar trying to hold the line in the center, keep the morale up for the Empire, which is going to be very important. It is very hard to keep your Empire from panicking when you're fighting a bunch of undead who do not rout whatsoever. That's the biggest issue the Empire has in this matchup, just dealing with the fear and the terror that the Tomb Kings will cause. Ushabti being dealt with by some Halberdiers. Skeleton Horsemen in the back, trying to deal with some Demigryphs, and actually did a lot of damage to them. And in the center, some Stirland Archers firing in, doing quite a bit of damage to those Skeleton Warriors as they move up. And the morale buff from that War Altar of Sigmar will be very important. Raven Guard Knights in there as well. Very interesting unit. Knights of the Raven's Bodyguard. They are a Gunpowder Knight unit for the Empire. I think they are unique to Stirland, although I'm not 100% sure on that. Great Swords trying their best, completely surrounded by Ushabti and Skeleton Warriors. And I'll shift over back to the Ogre Kingdoms and the Kislevites. Their fight still looks relatively even, but a lot of Ogres are dead on the front lines. The Winged Lancers and the Mountain Militia are just murdering all of these Noblars as they run away, just leaving piles of their dead and broken on the mountainside. But in the center, the Ogre Tyrant and his Man-Eaters are still trying to stay alive. The Iron Guts as well, stuck into combat with some Streltsy and the Sons of Urson, some Mountain Militia wading into combat as well. The Streltsy gunline has managed to pull away from the clutches of those massive Iron Guts, which is a really big deal. It means they can pull away, fire in from the flank, and continue dropping their HP. Those gunpowder shots can go through HP very quickly, and even the Man-Eaters, even the Iron Guts, are not going to enjoy taking shots to the face, as the Empire Stirland General is going to go down to the Tomb Guard on the other side of the field. The problem for the Ogres here is they've lost pretty much all of their support. Yes, they're going to be able to do a crapload of damage to any unit that runs into combat with them, but the problem is the gunpowder units are firing in from the flank. They don't have a great way of tying down those Streltsy who managed to get out of melee combat and are now firing in, and they don't have cavalry to quickly tie stuff down, quickly demolish an enemy unit. They don't have their meat shields to block shots. So with just the Ogres left and all the cavalry that's still on the field, all the gunpowder units still firing in from the flank, Ogres are definitely in big trouble, getting thrown into the air. I don't even know what that was from. I actually, was that from a cav charge? That was weird. You just kind of got thrown into the air there. And they're going to make it into some of the remainder of the Streltsy. They're quick. They will be able to finally close down some of these gunpowder units, but Kislev does have the cavalry advantage. There are no Mourn Fangs or Stonehorns or any of the really mobile units on the field for the Ogres, so they're going to have to rely on their monstrous infantry, which is going to be tough when those Sons of Urson are charging you over and over again. But there are still a decent amount of Man-Eaters and Iron Guts on the field. We still have the Ogre Hunters firing in with their crossbows from the flank, which will do a crap load of damage. I'm not sure what kind of ammo they use, but I would imagine it's pretty similar to what the Ballista fires. So very high armor piercing, very high missile damage. I would expect them to be able to drop a single model of a Sons of Urson with a shot relatively easily. But here is a problem. If those Man-Eaters break, it doesn't matter how much HP you have, you will get run down very easily. That is one thing about routing units in Medieval 2. Doesn't matter how much HP you have, you die very quickly when you're running away. I don't know if it drops your HP, I don't know if it drops your melee defense or what the deal with that is, but it is very easy to capture fleeing units no matter how much HP they have. So if those man-eaters run, which they just did, one unit just broke, that's going to be very easy for Sons of Ursun to clean them up, and they won't do any damage in return. This was a very risky, ballsy move from those Czechists running into combat with some ogres. And as these man-eaters run for the hills, the winged hussars, winged lancers I should say, and the Sons of Ursun are running them down. Rear charge coming in from the mounted militia. And all these ogres, the remainder of them, are getting surrounded and cut to pieces from multiple flanks by the gunpowder and from the very balanced force that is Kislev. That is one thing about them in Call of Warhammer in general. They are an incredibly balanced force. They have good gunpowder units, very cheap mainline troops. They have decent morale. They have fantastic cavalry, and they have artillery as well. So there is a reason that I think Kislev is one of the better factions in Call of Warhammer Beginning of the End Times, and Call of Warhammer as well. Just a balanced force, tons of stuff to field that runs the gamut all the way from multiple HP cavalry to mounted gunpowder units to artillery to pretty decent infantry selection as well. But for the Empire, it looks like the Hellhunters, Redeemers, and the province of Stirland is going to get surrounded and cut to pieces by the unyielding tide that are the Tomb Kings. Ushabti and the Tomb Guard and the Skeleton Warriors have completely surrounded what remains of the Great Swords and of the Halberdiers of the Empire line, and they are slowly being ground down. And I think the Tomb Kings seem to have a pretty big advantage in this fight. Not sure the Empire will be able to hold on for too much longer, which will mean here at the end we will have a Kislev versus Tomb Kings smackdown. And these are the battles that I absolutely love, where one team, and this is why I always say when I play free-for-all that people should respect the 1v1s, which is what we do, the rules I usually play with in free-for-all. It means that one team, one person wins one side, one person wins the other side, and the remnants of both armies come together and collapse in and see who can carry the day. But we're not quite done with the Ogre Kingdoms yet. We should be able to carry the day here. We have a pretty big advantage. Only a handful of Ogre Kingdoms units left. These hunters getting charged by the Sons of Ursun, who seem to be exhausted at this point. That charge was lacking a bit of impetus there. Didn't seem to do a whole lot, but look at the mountainside. Just completely covered in the dead. I think my Sons of Ursun got like 700 kills or something on routing units. Look at all those Nobblers. Just a big path of them leading down to the main battle site, and it has been absolute carnage. The front line, oh, my general's gonna go down. Tsar Boris, no! The Tsar is dead! The Tsar is dead! I did not realize that my general was actually stuck in combat with those hunters. I tried to pull him out, and he's gonna get cut to pieces there, and that means my general is dead, which could be an issue as we're going up against the Tomb Kings. Again, a lot of their units cause fear. You really want to be in the general's aura in those last kind of fights when everything's exhausted. Yeah, morale can definitely be an issue for Kislev. So we'll see if that plays into how this battle ends. Hopefully not. Hopefully the ice of Kislev will not thaw here, will not crack, and we'll be able to deal with the remaining undead units. Just a handful of Ushabti chasing after a lone greatsword. He better run, or he's oh man, I don't think he's gonna get away. Run, greatsword, please get away. Run! Oh, Ushabti doing a bad job of killing him. Actually, I think the greatsword is gonna get away. So the only dude left in his entire regiment. Everything else just cut to ribbons. Alright, so yeah, the Tomb Kings are definitely going to be able to win on this side of the field, which means the Kislevites will have to take a long, steady march down the mountain and engage the Tomb Kings on the valley floor below. So let's cut to that, and I'll see you all in a minute. So while the rest of the Kislev army was streaming down the mountainside, the mounted militia managed to flank around the right flank of the Tomb King's army, charging in, firing in from the side, and should be able to strike at the unguarded archers in the back line. It's going to be a good charge coming in here. They are exhausted, so they're not moving very fast. They're actually a very fast, very versatile unit. As you can imagine, a gunpowder cavalry unit can be very effective in Medieval 2. Good shots from range, and because they're cavalry, and cavalry is just OP in general, in Medieval 2, have a decent charge and impact damage as well. So doing a lot of damage to the tomb archers in the back. Skeleton Warriors with pole axes trying to hold the line. A lot of Sons of Ursun just died off that charge, which I was not expecting when I was playing as Kislev. A lot of that HP must have been ground down against the Ogres on the other side of the field, and so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful when I commit those Sons of Ursun. But it is about 50-50 now. Balance bar, even for both sides, about the same amount of troops on both sides of the field. I do have an advantage in the fact that I have cavalry, but like you saw when I just charged in there to a low-tier unit, a Skeleton Warrior unit, basically lost a fifth of my cavalry unit charging in, so gonna have to be very cautious. Another charge coming in, and I don't think my Sons of Ursun were rested either. Oh, big charge coming in. Again, killing Tomb King General, not a big deal, but because they don't suffer from morale penalties, but it's still nice to be able to kill. I still get excited whenever I see a general die, because for a lot of factions, it actually is kind of a big deal. For the Tomb Kings, not going to matter, but still very nice, but still losing a bunch of my Bear Cavalry and my Streltsy. I'm even going to have to commit those with their Birdish axes and hope that that's going to be enough. I think they have Birdish axes like tied to their guns, so it's like a bayonet, but when you turn it sideways, it's like a Birdish axe. It kind of looks that way anyway. We'll see how they do in melee combat. Not a very good melee unit, but I think I'm out of ammunition, and they have their gun on their back, so they just have axes as a secondary weapon. Oh my god. One of the Streltsy just killed an Ushabti in 1v1 combat. That was awesome. And the Halberdiers moving up as well, fighting the Tomb Guard, and those charges have started shifting things in my favor. Mounted Militia making a lot of impact in the back lines, killed off, I think, 2 full units of Tomb King's archers, and the Droyashki with their dual-wielding sabers into combat as well. For some reason, they have multiple HP. Don't feel like in the final version of this mod they should. They have no armor, and I don't know what their lore is, or if they're just a completely made-up unit, but I feel like the Droyashki probably shouldn't have multiple HP. They have very good melee stats, and I'm cool with that, but multiple HP on a no armor unit is a little bit funky, I would say. But things have shifted in Kislev's favor very quickly there, and I think the biggest impact, of course, was having cavalry on the field. The Skeleton Horsemen seem to have died against the Empire province of Stirland in that combat, and that meant that free charges into the Skeleton polearms and some of these other units just meant they kind of got shattered off the charge. Did lose a lot of Bear Cavalry charging in, but it seemed to be enough to push things into my favor, and Kislev seems to have a commanding advantage in this one. Should be able to take the battlefield pretty soon here. Will take a little bit longer just because the Tomb Kings don't have morale. They will not be routing from the field. We'll have to cut each and every one of them into little fragments of bone to finally take the field here. But this is what I love. One of the things that we're missing in Total War Warhammer, well, we're missing Kislev first and foremost. Really, really hope that they get added. They're an awesome faction that has their own flavor, and especially for Eastern European players and Russian players, I know you guys are eagerly awaiting Kislev. A lot of national pride there, hoping to see those winged hussars, I guess winged lancers as they're called in the Warhammer world, make it in. So a lot of cool units, of course, but I think everyone, I can't think of too many players who don't want to see Kislev. But more than that, we're missing free-for-all as well. This is another thing I really have been advocating that CA add back for a while. I don't know if it doesn't work with the deployments in Total War Warhammer or what the deal is, but I feel like they have the know-how to add it. It's whether the reason they haven't added it back probably is they feel like there isn't enough of a player base that would utilize it to make it worth adding. But I personally think that it'd be a ton of fun to go back into Total War Warhammer and play free-for-alls. They're one of my favorite things in Medieval 2, and it makes for some really epic battles in Medieval 2 and some of the earlier ones that did have it. So I'm really hoping that at some point in this trilogy that they go back into adding, well, first off, they work on battle maps, and that they work on adding free-for-all back in to the trilogy. So you can see the kills there. Managed to get a ton of kills on routing units. Look at that. Almost 700, like 700 prisoners caught by those Sons of Ursun. Griffin Legion, Winged Lancers did really well for me. And my gunpowder units managed to whittle down the Ogres as they charged in, which allowed my Kislev Halberdiers, Droyashki, and Kreml Guard to hold the line. So it would have been interesting to see if the Ogre Kingdoms had gone for a more ranged build, maybe with some lead belchers to whittle me down from range and shoot me to pieces, maybe shoot the Sons of Ursun up a bit. That might have changed things in his favor. Hope you guys enjoyed this game. Any Prize signing out for now. Peace.